Tommy Tremble, tight end for the Panthers, returning, so a guy that's been around the past few years, not a new addition, confirmed some of our biggest worries about how Bryce Young was treated last year. And he may not have done it explicitly, but I've heard enough to make a ruling. Tommy Tremble had this quote. I saw it on Pro Football Talk. He's throwing the ball with confidence. He was talking about Bryce Young, obviously. Tommy Tremble. He's throwing the ball with confidence. He's not worried about 1,000 things like last year. So you can see that swag confidence. It's exciting, man. End of Tommy Tremble's quote. I want to focus in on one sentence. He's not worried about 1,000 things like last year. Do you know what good coaching does for quarterbacks? Simplifies it. That's what good coaching does, right? Even if it's complicated pre-snap, a good coach, once the ball is snapped, makes it simple, right? You coaches love either or reads. Look at the safety. If he goes left, you throw it here. If he goes right, you throw it there. If you do your prep, sometimes it can be that easy. You don't want 1,000 things. You want one thing. And one of the problems that we pointed out on this show throughout the entirety of Bryce Young's rookie year, going back to the preseason, was there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen. There's a lot of voices in his head. Frank Reich, head coach, offensive mind, former quarterback, probably giving Bryce Young thoughts and tips and tricks. Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator, responsible for the offense, probably giving Bryce Young tips and tricks and advice. Josh McCown, quarterback's coach, his whole job was giving Bryce Young tips and tricks and advice. Deuce Staley, he's the running backs coach, but if you watched any of the Hard Knock stuff that he's been a part of, he's a vocal guy, doesn't mind throwing his 2 cents in. Dave Caldwell, senior offensive analyst,
Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, who's Dave Caldwell?
I'll find out.
Did I just make up a guy?
You may have.
I could have made up a guy. Jim Caldwell. Now I'll rattle off a whole bunch of facts about him just so I show you that I know who I'm talking about. He was the coach for the Indianapolis Colts, was probably relieved of his job a little early of the Detroit Lions. Probably relieved of his job a little early because they were having some success under him, and then they didn't after. He had said that he wasn't going to come back for anything but a head coaching job, but he came back for a senior offensive analyst job with the Panthers.
Still there, by the way.
Just another voice in the ear of Bryce Young last year.
By the way, Dave Caldwell is the senior personnel director for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, so there was a Dave Caldwell. I didn't completely make him up. Andy Dalton, I think, may have even been a guy who Bryce Young had in his head. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. Not to mention, who knows if David Tepper got involved, or who knows if there's a quarterback guru that Bryce Young works with.
Let's not be surprised if David Tepper was involved.
And even more confusing, you take those 7, 8, 9 names, the order of who was more important to please kept shifting. This guy's a play caller. That guy's a play caller. This Josh McCown got fired before the year was up. Deuce Staley got fired before the year was up. There was moving. There was shaking. This year, even though you mentioned Caldwell's still around, Andy Dalton's still around, even though he's going to have a quarterback's coach, it's Dave Canales. It just is. The voice in Bryce Young's head, it's Dave Canales. If Dave Canales says, that's a good rep, it's a good rep. And you don't have to double check with anyone else, right? It's not Frank Reich, hey, good throw. Thomas Brown, actually, I would have liked to have seen you put a little bit more zip on it. Andy Dalton, hey, could have put some touch on that one. It's like, wait a second. What am I supposed to do here? Think of 1,000 things. Try to make everybody happy. I think about it like a golfer. A golfer is usually okay with one swing thought, right? When you're addressing the ball, one swing thought. Keep my elbow in. One swing thought. Get my hips through. One swing thought. Stay over the top. You start to get yourself in trouble when you have 6 swing thoughts. When you're like elbow in, hips through, over the top, head back, eye on the ball, twist my ankle, right? Offhand lead. Like all of these thoughts, now you're going to look like you don't know what you're doing. You're going to be thinking too much, and I guarantee you're going to hit in the water. Bryce Young, I know he's exaggerating, but Tommy Tremble said was thinking about 1,000 things last year. Right? Imagine you're playing in an NFL football game. You have 70,000 people in the stands. You have millions of people watching at home. You're in the shotgun. You just called the play, right? The last thing Thomas Brown says in your ear or Frank Reich says in your ear is, hey, if the safety comes down, put a little air on it. We might have a big one. Click. The radio goes silent. You're thinking, all right, what did Caldwell tell me to do? Okay, now I'm thinking, what did this guy tell me to do? What did that guy tell me to do? What worked for me at Alabama? Get the ball out fast, but don't rush. Keep my feet quiet, but choppy. No happy feet, but stay active. Be on the move. My left tackle might not be able to block this guy. That's that hot. That's a hard way to be successful. It's an easy way to look like you're not the prospect that everybody thought you were. Now imagine if Dave Canales can simplify it. Trust your line, which means don't think about them. Trust your receivers, because they will get open. And trust the scheme. Make your read. That's a lot less to think about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less to think about. It could come down to, all right, is the corner low or is the corner high? That's all he's going to feel like he's out on a lake, like on a pristine day with no wind, and he's sunbathing. He's like, my brain is so calm right now. That's what you're looking for. And then what does that lead to what Tommy was talking about? Tommy Tremble, what he called swag confidence? Yes, it does. It leads to, you're darn right, knowledge and trust comes with a certain level of confidence, right? Think of maybe the most swag confidence thing that a Carolina Panthers quarterback has ever done. Cam Newton talking with Clay Matthews mic'd up, where Clay Matthews was looking at Christian McCaffrey, and Clay Matthews yelled, "He's going in the flat! He's going in the flat!" And he was telling his team that Christian McCaffrey was going to run a route into the short flat. And Cam Newton looked at him, smiled, and said, "You watch film? We do too. Say go." And then, of course, it was a fake into the flat, and he cut back and scored a touchdown because everybody was chasing where they thought Christian McCaffrey was going to go. And Cam Newton knew not only is he not going into the flat, he is going to fake like he's running into the flat, slam on the brakes, cut it back on what we used to call a Texas route, run the Texas, and it was going to be a walk-in touchdown. Cam Newton knew everything going on so well that it literally was simplified down to, watch this. And he knew there was no decision to make there, right? Clay Matthews had told him what the defense was looking for. Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton knew what they were going to throw it to. The entire play was just pitch and catch. It was Field of Dreams out there. You want to have a catch? It was Kevin Costner and his dad in a field just playing catch, only it was a touchdown in the NFL. If Dave Canales can get Bryce Young a quarter as calm as Cam Newton was on that play, it'll look night and day from last year to this year. Bryce Young might be the first number 1 overall pick to win Most Improved Player his second year in the league.
He might. Hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
If he wants to do it, okay. I'm not going to hold him back. I'm thinking about when I was coaching, when it came to goaltenders, when it came to goalies, coaching lacrosse, it's like the last thing you want to do is fill a goalie's head with a bunch of different voices. It's the same type thing. It was the same thing. That's usually what, for a lot of teams, like you have someone that's designated to work with goalies. Mm-hmm. Now, the head coach might go to that goalie coach and be like, "Hey, I'm seeing this. Like, can you tell me, like, communicate with this going on? Like, can you echo that to them?" And then, like, they know how to communicate with that goalie. So then that's it. And the goalie knows who the coach that they're going to, and they hear that one voice. That's it, just that one voice, and that's all you need to hear. Because if a goalie's thinking, like, wait, they're telling me this thing, but I'm being told this thing, I think I got it. It's that same type thing. It's for any position. It's simplified.
Exactly. I remember decisions where even after completed passes, I'd come to the sideline, and our receivers coach, who was kind of like our liaison to the coordinator, would come at me and he'd say, like, "Did you see the safety?" And I go, "Yeah. But I also saw the outside linebacker and right with the defensive end out wide. I thought there might be a blitz coming, so I wanted to prepare, so I kept the running back in." And he's looking at me like, whoa. Read the safety, bud. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing? I appreciate the effort. You watch a lot of film. I get it. Safety came down, throw it over his head. I'm like, oh, that's much easier than what I was trying. That's much easier than what I was trying to do. All right. And then, of course, usually that ended up being, somewhere down the line, and it worked. You just need to simplify it sometimes. If you tell me a quarterback's thinking 1,000 things, I'm going to look at you and go, all right, well, how do we get rid of 999 of them? Let's start checking off the easy ones.